Move to Canada, it's our time.
In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about the 2025 intake of Canada's Parents and Grandparents Sponsorship Program. Starting July 28, 2025, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, will begin sending out invitations to potential sponsors who submitted an interest to sponsor form way back in 2020. This year, IRCC plans to issue 17,860 invitations over about 2 weeks, aiming to accept around 10,000 complete applications. And if you don't get invited, there's still a great alternative, the Super Visa, which we'll touch on later in this video.
How to check if you're invited.
So, how do you know if you've been selected? IRCC uses a random draw from that 2020 pool of interested sponsors. If you're selected, they'll send an email to the address you provided in that 2020 form, so it's super important to check your inbox and junk mail regularly, starting July 28, 2025. Can't remember which email you used back then? Or maybe you've changed it since. No problem. IRCC has an online invitation status tool you can use to check if you've been selected. The link to the invitation status tool is in the description below. If the tool says yes but you didn't receive an email, check your mailbox. IRCC may have sent you a paper invitation. Still nothing? Then you should reach out to IRCC through their web form. We've linked it in the video description. But keep in mind, only people who are invited can apply. If you send an application without an invitation, it'll be returned. And once you do get an invitation, you'll need to submit your application within the deadline listed in your letter. That's usually about 2 months.
If you're invited, step-by-step instructions.
If you are one of the lucky invitees, here's what you need to do.
Step 1. Create or sign into the PR portal.
First up, your parent or grandparent, known as the principal applicant, needs to create or sign into the IRCC Permanent Residence Portal, often called the PR portal. This is where the entire application process gets underway. Either one of your parents or grandparents can be the principal applicant. All other applicants, including the principal applicant's spouse or common-law partner and any dependent children, are called dependents. 2 separate applications must be submitted together through the PR portal by the principal applicant. The first is the sponsorship application. This is where you, the sponsor, apply to sponsor your parents or grandparents. The second is the permanent residence application. This is where your parents or grandparents, the applicants, apply to become permanent residents of Canada. These 2 applications go hand in hand and must be submitted as a single package in the PR portal. If you're working with a paid immigration representative, they'll need to use the representative PR portal, which is a separate system. The link to access the PR portal is in the video description below. Once logged in, the principal applicant can start filling out the online forms and uploading documents. We'll walk you through those steps in Step 3 and Step 4. And if the principal applicant has a disability or other accommodation needs and can't apply online, you can request a paper application by emailing IRCC. Just be sure to include the following details in your request: the full names of both the sponsor and the principal applicant, the confirmation number from your 2020 interest to sponsor form, and a copy of the invitation letter.
Step 2. Prepare required documents.
Now, let's go over the documents required, both for you, the sponsor, and for your parents or grandparents, who are the applicants. Let's begin with the sponsor documents. You'll need to provide proof of your status in Canada. If you're a permanent resident, submit a copy of your PR card, both front and back. If you don't have a PR card, you can instead provide your record of landing, that's Form IMM 1000, or your confirmation of permanent residence, which is IMM 5295 or IMM 5688. If you're a Canadian citizen, you'll need to provide one of the following: your Canadian citizenship certificate or card, both sides, your Canadian birth certificate, or the biographic page of your Canadian passport. In addition, include the date you became a Canadian citizen and your UCI number, that's your unique client identifier or client ID number. You can usually find both on the back of your citizenship certificate. If you don't have a citizenship certificate, you can apply urgently for one or request a search of citizenship records. Still waiting? Then include a letter of explanation. Describe why you don't have the certificate yet and what steps you've taken to get it.
And here's a very important reminder. You must include a copy of the exact status in Canada document that you submitted with your 2020 interest to sponsor form. If it doesn't match, your application could be returned.
Now, if you're applying with a cosigner, like your spouse or common law partner, they'll also need to provide proof of their Canadian citizenship or permanent resident status, using the same document types we just covered. If your cosigner is your spouse, include your marriage certificate. If it's a common law partner, include a statutory declaration of common law union, that's Form IMM 5409. This form must be hand-signed and dated by you, your cosigner, and the commissioner or administrator of the declaration. Finally, you need to provide proof of your relationship to the person or people you're sponsoring. If you're sponsoring your parents, submit your birth certificate, or, if applicable, a final adoption order. If you're sponsoring your grandparents, you must also include your parents' birth certificate to show the connection between you and your grandparent. Now, let's go over the documents required from the applicants. That includes your parents or grandparents and any of their dependents. Here's what they'll need to prepare. 1 recent photo. You can find the link to the official photograph specifications in the video description below. The passport biographic page. A marriage certificate for your parents, or, if they're in a common law relationship, a statutory declaration of common law union, which is Form IMM 5409. If the principal applicant or their spouse or common law partner was previously married or in a common law union, they'll need to include one of the following: a divorce certificate, a death certificate, or a statutory declaration of severance of common law union, that's Form IMM 5519. If the principal applicant has dependent children, whether or not those children will be accompanying them to Canada, a birth certificate or final adoption order must be submitted for each child. And finally, a CV is required for the principal applicant, as well as for all dependents aged 18 or older. The CV should cover everything since the age of 18, including work history, volunteer experience, and any other significant activities.
Step 3. Fill out the forms.
With all your documents ready, it's time to complete the forms. IRCC provides an instruction guide, IMM 5772, to help you complete the forms correctly. You can find the link to this guide in the video description below. As the sponsor, you'll need to download and complete several PDF forms, then give them to your parent or grandparent to upload as part of their permanent residence application. These include Document Checklist, IMM 5771. This checklist helps ensure that you include all the required forms and supporting documents. Application to sponsor, Sponsorship Agreement and Undertaking, IMM 1344. Financial Evaluation for Parents and Grandparent Sponsorship, IMM 5768. This form is where you demonstrate that you've met the minimum income requirement for the past 3 years. You can enter your social insurance number to authorize IRCC to get your income information directly from the Canada Revenue Agency. This is optional, but it saves you from submitting extra documents. If you'd rather not give that authorization, you'll also need to complete the income sources for the Sponsorship of Parents and Grandparents form, that's IMM 5748. But note, that extra form is only required if you answered no to questions 8 and 16 on the IMM 5768. Statutory Declaration of Common Law Union, IMM 5409. If you're in a common law relationship and your partner is acting as your cosigner, you'll need to fill out this form, as we mentioned earlier. Use of a representative form, IMM 5476. If you are using a paid representative, you must submit this form.
And a quick but very important tip. When downloading these forms, make sure you're using Adobe Reader 10 or higher, and that JavaScript is enabled. Always fill them out electronically on your computer, not by hand. That helps avoid errors and delays. And don't print them unless absolutely necessary. Poor scan quality can cause issues during processing.
Now, let's go over the forms required from the person being sponsored, that is, your parent or grandparent, along with any of their dependents. As we mentioned earlier, either one of your parents or grandparents can be the principal applicant. All other applicants, including the principal applicant's spouse or common law partner and any dependent children, are considered dependents. The principal applicant must complete the following forms directly in the Permanent Residence Portal. Generic Application Form for Canada, IMM 0008. Schedule A, Background Declaration, IMM 5669. Additional Family Information, IMM 5406. Supplementary Information, Your Travels, IMM 5562. If the principal applicant has any dependents who are 18 years of age or older, whether they're accompanying them to Canada or not, and who are not already Canadian citizens or permanent residents, then each of those dependents must also complete their own copies of the following 3 forms: IMM 5669, IMM 5406, and IMM 5562. Now, depending on their individual background, the principal applicant and the dependents may also need to complete additional PDF forms. These may include Statutory Declaration of Common Law Union, IMM 5409, if applicable. Statutory Declaration of Severance of a Common Law Union, IMM 5519, for those who ended a common law relationship. Details of Military Service, IMM 5546, if they've served in the military or a paramilitary group. Details of Government Employment, IMM 0149, if they've held a government position. Details of Police Service, IMM 0150, if they've worked in law enforcement. Use of a representative, IMM 5476, if they're using a paid immigration representative.
Just like the sponsors' forms, these should all be filled out electronically using Adobe Reader. Try not to print them unless absolutely necessary. Poor scan quality can lead to delays during processing. Step 4. Pay the application fees.
Next, let's talk about the fees. Here's what you'll need to pay. A processing fee. This applies to you, the sponsor, and to each person being sponsored. The Right of Permanent Residence Fee, or RPRF. This fee must be paid before the application is approved, but only the principal applicant and their spouse or common law partner are required to pay it. Dependent children do not need to pay the RPRF. You have 2 options to pay the RPRF. You can either pay it up front, along with the processing fee, or wait until IRCC sends you a request letter. But just so you know, if IRCC asks you to pay the RPRF, that usually means your application is about to be approved. To avoid any delays, it's strongly recommended that you pay it up front. A biometrics fee, if applicable. Most applicants between the ages of 14 and 79 are required to provide biometrics. The fee is $85 per person, but if 2 or more people in the same family need to give biometrics, they can pay the family rate of $170. All fees must be paid online. You'll find the payment link in the video description below. And once you've paid, don't forget to save your payment receipt. You'll need to upload it with your application in the PR portal.
Step 5. Submit the online application.
Once all your forms are completed and documents are ready, it's time to submit your application. But before you hit that submit button, take a moment to review everything carefully. Make sure every required question is answered. All necessary files are uploaded, and you've included a copy of your invitation to apply letter in the required documents section of the PR portal. When everything is in place, the principal applicant must electronically sign the application. That means typing their full name exactly as shown on their passport, and then clicking Submit Your Application. If anything is missing, like a document or a form, IRCC will send a request letter. You'll have 30 days to submit the missing items. But be careful, if you don't respond within that time, the application will be returned without being processed.
Step 6. What happens after you submit your application?
To avoid delays in processing, it's important to keep your contact information and application details up to date. If anything changes after you submit your application, use IRCC's web form to report it. This includes changes like a change in relationship status, such as getting married, divorced, or entering a new common law relationship, the birth or adoption of a child, the death of an applicant or dependent, and updates to your email address, phone number, or mailing address. Do not send updates by mail. Mailed changes are ignored and could delay your application. And here's a tip. Keep checking your old email address even if you've submitted an update, at least until IRCC confirms your new contact details have been updated in their system. Now let's take a look at how IRCC processes your application. They'll begin by reviewing your sponsorship application. But keep in mind, they may return it without processing if it's incomplete. It's missing any required fees, it was submitted without an invitation, or it was received after the deadline. Once your application passes that initial check, IRCC will send you an acknowledgement of receipt, also known as an AOR. This includes your application number. From there, IRCC will assess two things. First, whether you qualify to sponsor. And second, whether the people you're sponsoring qualify for permanent residence. If you're approved as a sponsor, IRCC will move on to reviewing the permanent residence application for your parent or grandparent. Now, if you live in Quebec, there's an extra step. Your parent or grandparent must complete a provincial form called Demande de Sélection Permanente, Category du Regroupement Familial. You, the sponsor, will also need to submit an undertaking application to the Quebec government. Quebec will review and make a decision, then send the results to IRCC. Let's now talk about additional requirements during processing. IRCC will request the following from the principal applicant and any dependents. A medical exam. IRCC will send instructions on how and where to complete it. Police certificates. Anyone aged 18 or older must submit police certificates for any country other than Canada where they lived for 6 months or more in a row since turning 18. These certificates are generally valid for 1 year, and IRCC may ask for updated ones if processing takes longer. Biometrics. If you've paid the biometrics fee, IRCC will send a letter asking all applicants aged 14 to 79 to provide fingerprints and a photo. IRCC will send these requests by email, so be sure to check your inbox regularly, including your junk or spam folder. In rare cases, they may send notifications by regular mail, so keep an eye on your physical mailbox as well. You can track your application online, and it's very important to respond promptly to any IRCC request. Delays could slow down or even jeopardize your application. If IRCC approves the permanent residence application, they'll ask for the following: passports or photocopies of passports, 1 photo for each applicant, and proof of payment for the right of permanent residence fee, if you haven't already paid it. Once those are submitted, IRCC will issue a confirmation of permanent residence, or COPR, to each applicant. And, if needed, a permanent residence visa. Your parents or grandparents must travel to Canada and present these documents to a border officer before they expire. If the application is refused, IRCC will send you a letter explaining the reasons for the refusal and outlining your options for appeal.
What if you're not invited?
If you don't receive an invitation to apply in 2025, unfortunately, you won't be able to submit a sponsorship application this year and will have to wait until IRCC opens the next round of invitations. But there's still good news. Your parents or grandparents may still be eligible to come to Canada through the Super Visa program. A Super Visa lets them stay in Canada for up to 5 years at a time, and they can apply to extend it for up to 2 more years. We'll be publishing more videos to guide you through how to apply for a Super Visa and how to submit your interest to sponsor form when IRCC reopens the pool for the parents and grandparents sponsorship program in the future.
If you're interested in learning more about Canadian immigration, citizenship, work permit, study permit, and visitor visa, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We regularly update with new and informative videos to ensure you never miss out on any important information. Subscribe now to stay informed.
Cross the border feeling free. New adventures, just you and me. Start afresh by the glistening sea. Life's a treasure, wait and see. Move to Canada, it's our time. Fresh tracks in the winter white. New life underneath the pine will be shining